Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into something really cool? We're tackling permaculture today.
Permaculture.
You've probably heard the term floating around, but what's it really about beyond the buzzword?
Yeah.
Well, that's our mission today, to cut through all the clutter and get to the juicy bits, like what permaculture actually is, how it works, why it's making waves.
Right.
We've got a really interesting mix of sources for this deep dive.
Okay.
Excerpts from a pretty popular online permaculture design course, a scholarly article, comparing permaculture to industrial agriculture, even a peek at a real permaculture farm's website.
Interesting.
We'll even tap into Wikipedia and a couple of YouTube videos,
Wow.
just to get a well-rounded view of permaculture from all angles.
I like it.
So buckle up. We're going to unpack what makes permaculture tick,
Mhm.
how it stacks up against conventional farming, and if it's actually a realistic solution for the future of food or just a beautiful dream.
Sounds like a plan.
Right. Okay, so that online permaculture course really caught my eye. They describe permaculture as a design system.
A design system.
Yeah, which makes it sound more like architecture than gardening, right?
Huh.
What's the thinking behind that?
Well, it's a design system in the sense that it takes inspiration from natural ecosystems.
Okay.
So, imagine a forest. It's not just a random jumble of plants.
Right.
There's a structure to it, a flow of energy and resources, a web of relationships. Permaculture aims to replicate those patterns and principles to create sustainable human environments.
So it's more about working with nature's brilliance than trying to, bulldoze over it.
Exactly.
I like that. Now, I remember the course mentioned something about core ethics, too. What's the deal with those?
Well, permaculture is grounded in three ethics: earth care,
Earth care.
people care,
Okay.
and fair share.
Okay.
So it's a holistic approach that considers the well-being of the planet, the people, and the distribution of resources.
Ah, that makes sense.
So it's about finding solutions that benefit everyone and everything.
No wonder people who take this permaculture course are raving about it.
Mm-hmm.
Some even called it life-changing.
Yeah,
It's clearly more than just growing your own veggies in a backyard.
way more. It's a whole philosophy, really.
So then, what are some real-world applications of this? Beyond just the garden, I mean.
Well, permaculture's applications go way beyond the garden. You can think sustainable homes, resilient communities, even restoring damaged ecosystems.
Oh,
It's about designing for a regenerative future.
Okay, so we're talking about a holistic approach that draws inspiration from nature and wants to create these sustainable systems.
Yeah.
But how does that actually translate to something like food production, especially compared to the industrial agriculture model we have now?
That's where things get really interesting. Let's contrast permaculture with industrial monoculture, the practice of growing vast fields of single crops. There are some stark differences there.
Yeah, that scholarly article we have, it doesn't hold back on the downsides of monocultures. Paints a pretty sobering picture.
Yeah.
So walk us through that. What are the problems of this monoculture approach?
Well, a monoculture has undoubtedly increased food production, but it's come at a cost. Imagine a single crop stretching as far as the eye can see.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Pests and diseases can spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
The soil gets depleted, and you need tons of chemical fertilizers and pesticides just to keep things going.
Okay.
So it's a system that's fundamentally out of balance.
They gave some pretty scary examples in the article, like atrazine.
Atrazine!
Yeah, it's a herbicide linked to all sorts of health problems. And then
Yeah.
you've got nitrates contaminating water supplies.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary to think about the long-term consequences of all that.
Absolutely. And that's where permaculture takes a radically different approach. It prioritizes working with nature's systems rather than fighting against them.
So how does that actually work in practice? I keep hearing terms like swales, sheet mulching, hugelkultur.
Yeah.
They almost sound like spells from a gardening grimoire. What's the magic behind these techniques?
Think of them as permaculture's secret weapons for mimicking nature's brilliance.
Okay.
Take sheet mulching, for example.
Sheet mulching.
Yeah, you're basically giving your soil this luxurious blanket of organic matter,
Uh-huh.
like cardboard and wood chips.
Okay.
This mimics the forest floor, holding in moisture, suppressing weeds, and creating this haven for beneficial organisms.
So it's like composting in place, but on a larger scale.
Yeah, exactly. It's an incredibly efficient way to build healthy soil. Plus, it reduces the need for watering and weeding, making it a win-win for you and the environment.
I like that. What about hugelkultur?
Hugelkultur, yeah. That's a technique that sounds a little strange, but it's incredibly effective.
Yeah, the idea of burying wood to improve your garden sounds, well, a little counterintuitive.
It is, yeah, but it's all about mimicking nature's slow and steady processes. As the wood decomposes, it acts like a sponge, absorbing and releasing water slowly, improving soil fertility and creating this haven for beneficial fungi. It's a long-term investment in the health of your garden.
That's fascinating. It seems like permaculture techniques are all about working smarter, not harder, by tapping into nature's wisdom.
Precisely. It's about finding elegant solutions that are both effective and sustainable.
But I gotta ask, these techniques sound pretty hands-on. Is permaculture only feasible for small-scale farms and backyard gardens? Or can it be scaled up? That's something I'm sure our listeners are curious about.
That's a great question, and one we'll definitely explore further. But before we jump into the scalability of permaculture, let's look at one of its most visually stunning and intriguing concepts, food forests.
Food forests. Okay, now we're talking.
So food forests.
Yeah, food forests. I'm ready to explore this edible jungle. You know that picture on that permaculture farm's website, the one we saw?
Yeah.
Incredible. It looked like something out of a fairy tale. Lush greenery, overflowing with fruits, nuts, veggies. Is this abundance really achievable?
Absolutely. Food forests, or forest gardens, are a prime example of permaculture in action. They mimic the structure of a natural forest with layers of diverse plants all working together in harmony.
Oh.
You've got your tall fruit and nut trees, they create a canopy, then smaller fruit trees and shrubs in the understory, and a vibrant ground cover of edible plants and nitrogen-fixing species.
It's like building a self-sustaining ecosystem that provides a feast for the senses and the stomach. What are some of the unique benefits of this layered approach?
Well, for starters, a well-designed food forest requires less maintenance over time compared to a conventional garden.
Really?
Yeah. The diverse plant life attracts beneficial insects that help control pests naturally. And the variety of yields ensures greater food security throughout the year. It's a system that gets more resilient and productive over time.
So it's not just about aesthetics. It's a clever way to create a low-maintenance, high-yield, and incredibly diverse food system. It almost sounds too good to be true.
The beauty of it is that it's based on principles that have been working in nature for millennia. We're simply tapping into that wisdom and applying it to our own designs. And remember agroforestry, which we touched on earlier. That's another way to bring these forest-inspired principles to larger-scale agriculture.
Oh, right. The Wikipedia article mentioned a permaculture farm in Burkina Faso that's using agroforestry to transform their land. They're incorporating trees to improve soil fertility, provide shade for crops, and even create microclimates. It's amazing how these techniques can be adapted to different environments and cultures.
It really is. It's a testament to the adaptability of permaculture. And speaking of adapting, let's talk about those intriguing swales and keyline designs we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
They play a crucial role in water management, especially in areas prone to drought.
Yeah, those techniques sounded a bit more complex. Can you break them down for us? I'm sure our listeners are curious about how they work.
Imagine shaping the land to slow down and capture rainwater, preventing runoff and allowing it to soak into the soil. That's the essence of swales and keyline design.
Okay.
Swales are shallow ditches dug along the contours of the land, and keyline design involves strategically plowing lines across the slope to guide water flow and maximize infiltration.
So it's like creating a network of mini reservoirs throughout the landscape, ensuring that every drop of precious rainwater is utilized.
Exactly.
That's particularly important in arid regions, right?
Absolutely. It's a brilliant way to increase water retention and reduce the need for irrigation. And speaking of working with nature, let's talk about another fascinating aspect of permaculture, the role of animals.
Right. I remember those chickens happily scratching around on the food forest in that YouTube video. They seem to be having a blast. What role do animals play in a permaculture system?
Animals can be valuable partners in a permaculture system. They can help control pests, fertilize the soil, and even prune plants. It's all about creating mutually beneficial relationships.
Gotcha.
Think of it as integrating animals into the ecosystem, just like in a natural forest.
So it's not about exploiting animals. It's about creating partnerships where everyone benefits. But are there ethical considerations when it comes to integrating animals into permaculture? The Wikipedia entry mentioned concerns about animal welfare and the environmental impact of livestock.
That's a valid point. It's crucial to be mindful of how we integrate animals into our systems. It's about choosing breeds that are well suited to the environment and managing them humanely and sustainably. It's a constant process of learning, observing, and making adjustments to ensure the well-being of all involved.
It sounds like there's a lot of potential for innovation in this area. I'm curious about how permaculture addresses the challenges of modern society, especially in urban environments. Can these principles be applied in cities where space is limited?
Absolutely. While we've been talking about food forests and agroforestry, permaculture's principles are incredibly adaptable. Remember, it's about observing patterns and finding creative solutions.
So how does urban permaculture work? What are some examples of people bringing these ideas to life in cities?
Think community gardens, rooftop gardens, balcony gardens, even vertical gardens using ingenious techniques to maximize space. You can have a thriving food forest even in the heart of a bustling city. And it's not just about growing food. Urban permaculture can also involve rainwater harvesting, composting, and creating habitats for pollinators.
Wow, it's amazing how people are adapting these principles to create little oases of abundance in the most unexpected places. It shows that you don't need a huge piece of land to embrace permaculture. You can start right where you are, even if it's just a windowsill.
Exactly. It's about making conscious choices, no matter how small, to live more sustainably and in harmony with nature. And speaking of conscious choices, let's talk about another intriguing concept: transition towns.
You mentioned transition towns earlier, and I have to admit, I'm a bit fuzzy on what they are and how they connect to permaculture. Can you shed some light on this for us?
Certainly. Imagine communities coming together to create a more resilient and sustainable future. That's the essence of a transition town.
Okay.
They're focusing on localizing food systems, reducing reliance on fossil fuels, and building strong community networks. It's about taking proactive steps to create a more secure and equitable future in the face of global challenges.
So it's like applying permaculture principles on a community level, creating a web of interconnected systems that support the well-being of everyone. That's a powerful concept.
It is. It's a testament to the transformative power of permaculture. It's not just about individual gardens or farm. It's about creating a culture of sustainability and resilience, starting with our own communities.
It's inspiring to see people taking action and creating a more hopeful future. But let's be realistic. Can permaculture really feed the world? How does it address the challenges of mass food production and the economic realities of the global food system?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's one we'll dive into next time. We'll explore the scalability of permaculture, its economic viability, and its potential to transform the way we feed ourselves. Stay tuned for the final part of our permaculture deep dive.
Okay, so we've explored the ins and outs of permaculture from, its forest-inspired designs to its potential to reshape our communities. But can it really feed the world? That's the big question I keep coming back to.
It is a question that sparks a lot of debate, and rightfully so. We've seen how permaculture can create this, abundance on a small scale, but can it compete with industrial agriculture?
Exactly right. Like that YouTube video we watched, Permaculture, producing food without destroying the planet.
Yeah.
It highlighted that permaculture farms can be more profitable per acre, but, they often struggle to match the low prices of those giant monoculture farms. How do you address that?
Right. Well, industrial agriculture benefits from economies of scale and often receives government subsidies.
Yeah.
Which makes it tough for, smaller permaculture-focused farms to compete purely on price.
Right.
But, that video also offered some glimmers of hope.
It did. What were some of those for you?
Well, there's a rapidly growing demand for organic, sustainably produced food.
Yeah.
People are becoming more aware of the downsides of industrial agriculture, and they're willing to pay a premium for food that's, good for their health and the planet.
Absolutely. I think we're seeing that more and more.
Yeah.
So that creates like a niche market for permaculture farms that prioritize quality and diversity,
Right.
And ethical production.
Exactly. And as we discussed, permaculture isn't just about replacing conventional farming altogether.
What?
It's also about integrating its principles into existing systems to make them more sustainable.
So it's not about like ripping everything up and starting over. It's about finding ways to work with nature, no matter what the scale is.
Yeah.
Like we talked about with, techniques like agroforestry and keyline design, which can be applied to larger farms to improve soil health, conserve water, increase biodiversity.
Exactly. And as the negative consequences of industrial agriculture become more apparent, think soil degradation, water shortages, and the vulnerability of monocultures,
For sure.
the resilience and sustainability of permaculture will become even more appealing, even on a larger scale.
So it's not about an all-or-nothing approach.
No.
It's about a gradual shift in mindset, a move toward working with nature rather than trying to dominate it, which I think is something that resonates with a lot of people.
Definitely. There's a growing awareness that our current system is unsustainable and a desire for something better.
I think so too.
Yeah, and that desire for change is fueling the permaculture movement. It's not just about techniques. It's about a philosophy of living in harmony with nature, understanding that we're all interconnected, and that philosophy is spreading.
It's inspiring to see. Like all those online permaculture courses, the workshops, community gardens,
Yeah.
it's all playing a role in empowering people to take action.
It is. And those online courses are leveraging technology to make permaculture knowledge more accessible. Remember, they talked about digital credentials secured by blockchain and online portfolio platforms.
Yeah,
Pretty cool stuff.
it is pretty cool. It's really impressive how they're blending ancient wisdom with modern technology. It shows that permaculture is about embracing innovation and finding the best tools to create positive change.
Absolutely.
You know, speaking of technology, one thing that I've been thinking about is the role of technology in a permaculture world. Is there tension between embracing nature and utilizing technology?
It's a valid question. Permaculture emphasizes natural systems, but it doesn't reject technology outright. The key is to use technology mindfully, to choose technologies that support our goals of sustainability and resilience, rather than those that harm the planet.
So it's about, using technology as a tool, not letting it become our master. Which makes me think of those incredible examples of biomimicry, where nature inspires these innovative technologies,
Yes.
like wind turbine blades modeled after whale fins or solar panels that mimic the structure of leaves.
Exactly. Fantastic examples.
It's like we're closing the loop using technology to create a world that's more in tune with nature.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful vision. And it highlights how permaculture isn't just about mimicking nature, it's about understanding its principles and applying them creatively to solve problems and design a better future.
It's a journey of discovery, a constant process of observation, experimentation, and adaptation. And it's a journey we can all embark on no matter where we live or what our skills are.
That's the beauty of permaculture. It empowers everyone to become active participants in creating a more sustainable and abundant world.
Exactly. Whether you're tending a backyard garden, transforming your community, or designing cutting-edge technologies, permaculture offers a framework for thinking differently, acting responsibly, and creating a future where both people and planet can thrive.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the world of permaculture. We've covered a lot of ground, from the practical techniques to the philosophical underpinnings. But more importantly, we've seen the power of permaculture to inspire hope and action.
We have.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, any final thoughts?
I want to leave our listener with a simple invitation. Go outside, connect with nature, and let your curiosity guide you. Observe the patterns, listen to the whispers of the wind, feel the soil beneath your fingers.
I like that.
And ask yourself, how can I be a part of creating a more beautiful, sustainable, and just world?
It's a question worth pondering. And who knows, maybe the answers lie in the wisdom of nature waiting to be discovered. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.